the Bankrupt Bookseller. Blue books. I want a set of blue books. I don't keep any, I replied, but I will procure what you want from the stationery office. What is the subject? The subject? The dame echoed. The subject doesn't matter. I want them in blue. The conversation was not so intelligible as what I have written, but at length I grasped, with the help of a piece of blue tapestry which my customer had in her hand, that it was books of a certain shade of blue binding that she desired, books to match her carpet and the curtains of her drawing room. I was fortunate, and when my mind had coped with the initial absurdity of the idea of buying books for the color of their binding, I found her an easy and a profitable client. Just wait, Bankrupt Bookseller, for 100 years. My hope is that one day she may look in these blue books and find some of the salvation which I have found in literature. Here are some blue books, all of which now occupy a neat rack book box on a drawing room table, which I will never see. Kenneth Graham's Wind in the Willows, Methuen, The Moon and Sixpence by W. Somerset Maugham, Cape, The Mrs. Mallet by E. H. Young, Cape, The Travel Letters of Lady Mary Wortley Montagu, Cape, and to complete the list, The Shade of Blue is Perfect, 5 volumes of Duckworth's Popular Library of Art. I am a house decorator, really, as well as a bookseller. I decorate minds and rooms. My friend next door decorates bodies, but he is no artist. Next section, books, bookbinding, and businessmen. Rereading what I have written about businessmen and business books, I feel I have been too hard on what must be a growing part of the bookseller's business. We ought to be glad that this important section of the community is interested in books. They were not ever thus. Pride ruled their will. They could not abide the opinions of others, but now they are like us, teachable and willing to learn. If they bring their simplicity into the curious and torturous world of books, we must be tolerant. In an inquiry from a well-known and well-to-do man prompts this attempt at recantation. Among my friends, I have one in the house furniture business, and it is at his suggestion that my customer was called on me. He has a library in dark mahogany and a deep piled black carpet and hangings, a rich, handsome room with great high windows. His idea is that books should be bound in vellum, and old yellowing vellum, of which I have only one sample, my volume of speeches. My customer is right. The effect of walls filled with books bound with old vellum and will be very attractive, and I am to quote for the binding. He has quantities of books, and some are unworthy of rebinding, unworthy in paper, printing, and contents, but it is his wish, and I hope to get the order. Bookbinding is dear. Bookbinding in order, bookbinding to order, that is, and I think it is a pity. It is one of the trades which might be developed, for most booksellers will agree that some modern bookbinding is very bad. Apropos of this bookbinding order, or the prospect of it rather, my house furnishing friend related the story of the self-made man from Glasgow, or was it Liverpool, who ordered a library. Quote, "How will you have the books bound?" asked the bookseller. "A better man than I to have thought of that." "Bound?" demanded the buyer. "I want the best binding." "Oh, we will have them bound in Morocco." Then said the bookseller, as if he decided that point finally. "Not at all," thundered the man of business. "Bound in Morocco? Why the devil should I have them bound in Morocco? I've made my money in Glasgow, or was it Liverpool, and I'll have my books bound in Glasgow." I think it a good story, but businessmen are not really like that. I think they don't get the amount of respect the community should give them. But perhaps the community, having given them its cash, feels they are well paid. Democracy acts always with emphasis, but its acts are often at variance with the contrary to its expression throughout the ballot box. Democracy at the ballot box repudiates big business, but in its hour-to-hour life, it pays tribute. Lord Rothermere, who seems to receive, and to me, unmerited amount of abuse in certain quarters, receives a homage which kings might envy. Every morning, over 1.5 million citizens say definitely, "Here, my lord, is my tribute. Here I tender to Caesar the things which are Caesar's, but right of conquest. Here I feel accorded you my penny for my daily mail." The other leaders of democracy may gnash their teeth, but if they are real Democrats, they will not deny that something less unstable than the popular vote goes, not once in a year or so by every day in the week, to one whom they in their ignorance think only a press lord. The great newspapers command wider suffrage in harder terms that do. Let me start that again. The great newspapers command wider suffrages on harder terms than do the great politicians. Who would pay a penny a day, day after day, to hear what Mr. Baldwin or Mr. MacDonald or Mr. Lord George has to say? And next section, almost an advertisement. How dull and flat was yesterday. It rained. There was a sour smell from my backyard. The cat was out all night, and I had to get out of bed to let her in by the door. The scratching and meowing, and she scratched and meowed so loudly. There were unpleasant letters in both morning and afternoon post. A man from a debt collecting and dunning society called on me. No day could be duller or more miserable, and yet this morning I have read the Daily Mail over my cocoa. I am warmed with the feeling that how wonderful life was yesterday to the young man on the Daily Mail. I was depressed and downcast, but what bright happiness they found in London, in Bury St. Edmunds, in Nice, and in Tokyo, those young men on the Daily Mail. I was dunned for debt and badgered by creditors, but they found men and women gloriously independent, even profligate, these young men on the Daily Mail. My life yesterday was hell, and I thought that the whole creation was groaning and travailing with me. This morning I know it was full pestilential illusion. Life yesterday was really large, gay, expanding, glorious to the young men on the Daily Mail. Selah. And we'll end it there for today. Thank you, BookTube.